Hello! Welcome back to the Friends of Zeus podcast. This is episode 63, 62?
63.
63, like I said. Let me take care of the business real quick. Tonight, it's just us guys, Tom, Jack, and Mike. We like to call him Brandon sometimes. My name is Zeus, of course. And you can find us on under Friends of Zeus podcast. You can find us on Anchor, Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Rumblings on Rumble, and have I missed YouTube? Yeah, YouTube would be one that I should mention. And I think that is it for now. Tonight's show, we're going to talk about the real world Iron Man, Mr. Elon Musk. This is Tom's baby, but I think we're all kind of Elon-centric, so this should be a fun one. So, Tom, why don't you take the reins?
All right. Well, thank you. And I'm Tom. That was Zeus. We should introduce ourselves every now and then. I don't think we do that enough. But
I'm the sporty one. I'm Michael. I like long walks on the beach and going to the movies.
Yeah, I'm Jack. I like psych nurses.
I love psych nurses.
You're the only one.
Wow.
So I have it.
Kind of a dick.
I'm going to steal a line from Mike and say I didn't put together any slides tonight. It was the cutest thing when he told John Paul. He said, John, we normally do slides, but we don't have any slides.
We normally have a huge production value. We got trained giraffes.
I didn't
doing a
put
stripped
together
down
any
show.
slides for Elon Musk, but I figured we can just talk about. He's in the news. Everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah,
Elon Musk.
Yeah, that's him behind
Twitter.
Michael right there.
Yeah, the guy behind Michael. That looks like a mashup of Elon and Leonardo DiCaprio.
Mm-hmm.
But
The younger Elon.
That's a younger Elon.
yeah, okay, yeah, he looks a little different there. But so anyway, yeah, Elon's trying to take over Twitter. So I just wanted to talk about that, get everybody's thoughts, and then we could get into the background of Elon. Obviously, he's behind me in this picture is the Gigafactory that just opened today, I think, down in Texas. He's dealing with artificial intelligence. He's got SpaceX going. He's got satellites over the Ukraine providing internet for them. He's got nanotechnology. Oh my gosh, what else is he doing? He's into everything. Tesla, electric cars.
He wants one-on-one, man-to-man, hand-to-hand combat with Vladimir Putin, which I think is he'd get his ass handed to him, but I still think it's cool.
Yeah, Putin would kick his ass, I think.
Yeah, Putin's like a black belt in judo or something. Like he's a legit badass. He is a real James Bond villain.
Funny thing about Elon, I was reading a little bit of his background. So when he started his very first company, I think he was like 18 years old or something. He started it with his brother. And whenever they came to a point where they couldn't agree on what to do next and they had to make a decision, they would wrestle for it. It was just him and his brother, like in the
Greco-Roman style, completely naked and in oil.
That's awesome.
They would wrestle to decide what path the company should take next.
Yeah, so he might have some fighting skills himself. Maybe he could take on Putin.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
Well, Putin doesn't let anyone close enough to him, so
He's got
Putin's
the
a KGB guy.
yeah.
I still think Putin would kill him. How old is Putin? Is he like 70?
No, I don't think so. Well, I don't know.
I
think he's like 340. He's like, did you guys ever hear the story right after he came on the scene? He had his wife was being interviewed. No, this is not a tangent. This is not a tangent. His wife was being interviewed. I got to look this up. And she said something about him being a vampire, like completely straight face.
Who, Putin?
No, Putin's wife was telling this reporter that Putin was actually a vampire. And she pretty much vanished. Like, you don't ever see her. He keeps her like locked in a
coffin
mansion somewhere.
Sarcophagus.
Yeah.
But there's video of it somewhere out, in Russian. She's like, "Oh, he's a vampire." It's like,
Peter.
Maybe
Anyway.
she meant to say like bloodsucker. I mean, because it's kind of a derogatory thing. Oh, that guy's a
Yeah.
bloodsucker. Not necessarily. Maybe it translated as vampire.
Just-
That's hilarious.
yeah.
Anyway, so Twitter. So what do you guys think of this thing? So Elon's trying to take over Twitter. As everybody knows, first he started out, he bought like 9% of the Twitter stock, which kind of put him at the top, the highest stock owner of Twitter, which gave him, then they invited him onto the board. He very smartly declined that, so that they gave him the option to do a hostile takeover. Then Twitter came back and they did basically, they want to do a poison pill. They're rejecting his offer. They're threatening to do a poison pill so that he can't easily do the takeover. But Elon says he's got a plan B. We don't know exactly what that is yet, but the whole, I guess the crux of the matter is, why does he want to buy Twitter? And what does he plan to do with it? And why do the people at Twitter and the people on the left not want him to buy Twitter? So what do you guys think?
Well, I sent a link to you guys earlier and it sounded like the most reasonable answer is that he, I think, is a fan of free speech because he says whatever the hell he wants. And he sometimes, I mean, this is a little haughty, but really feel like he wants to save the world in a way, and I don't think he likes what's going on, and he wants to, open up better channels of communication, because whether you're Republican or Democrat, eliminating one of those groups is not really getting good discourse out there. And I think that's what he's going for. I mean, maybe I'm giving him too much credit, but I don't get bad guy off of him ever. I've never, ever gotten like piece of garbage vibes off of him. He seems to be a legitimately, interestingly cool guy, but who knows? Maybe he's the devil.
Well, I think he's a futurist. I mean, he's someone that is, forward looking, and he has, earned the means to put his ideas into action. I mean, if you look at SpaceX and with Starship which is 60% again longer than the space shuttle. I mean, it's a big vessel, and he's building that mission specific to get people to Mars. When he started Tesla with the original Roadster, people were like, this is stupid. And before, I mean, he started PayPal, I believe. Isn't that where he made I think that's where he made his original.
No, it was like it was a program or software to handle the money transactions, and I think PayPal bought that from him.
Oh, okay, gotcha. So, I mean, he is forward looking. I tend to believe him at face value because he says what he means, even though he does stumble sometimes because, he's a character, right? I mean, he's his own brand. I mean, he is the Tesla brand. If he just sold all of his stake in Tesla and didn't care anymore, not as many people would buy Teslas. I mean, it's just they like him. And SpaceX, you got Bezos and you've got the guy, the Virgin Galactic guy. They're all about like space.
You like that guy? What's his name?
Branson. No, he's cool.
He's a cool guy too.
They're looking at like space tourism. They're just looking at they're thinking so small. I mean, he's like Mars.
Yeah.
And the thing that I love thinking about, if he goes to Mars, there's what laws? I mean, he could literally become like king of a planet or whatever. I mean, I'm just saying that it's not like the Geneva Convention goes to Mars, I don't think. But anyway,
I think he got into a spat with Bill Nye, the science guy, about trying to terraform Mars. Remember that? Like a year or two ago?
I don't remember it now.
He was saying we could go there, we could terraform it, kind of make it livable.
Yeah.
And Bill Nye was like, no, that you can't do that. So.
Yeah, I mean, who's Bill Nye?
I would trust. I would trust Elon.
Hey, I like Bill Nye. Let's leave him alone.
So anyway, so I do take him at face value. I don't think he's buying Twitter to dump it and destroy it, but no, I wouldn't put it past if they really. There's no reason he shouldn't be able to take it over. And I kind of have a quibble with the hostile takeover definition because, and again, I'm not a finance expert, but I thought typically a hostile takeover is where you have a company, say it's trading at $10 a share and it's in trouble and there's an anticipated sell-off. And so they come in and they say, I'll buy everything, for $7 a share or something. Yeah. They try to get it at a deal. Whereas he's offering a premium, he's offering 38%.
Generous offer. Yeah.
Generous offer. And, just from a fiduciary standpoint, I think they're kind of obligated to take it. If they don't, I think there's going to be a lot of lawsuits. This could drag out for a while. But
I think we'll win.
Can I interrupt with a question?
Yeah.
How many shares do you need to be in on the shareholder vote? Because I've got a stock where I think I've only got like 1 or 2 shares on Robinhood where they give you like a free share of a certain stock. And I'm getting like messages about the next shareholder meeting. And
if you own a share,
my vote.
Yeah, you can vote, I believe.
With just one share.
If I buy one share of Twitter,
I'll get to vote. Whether or
I think it's weighted by shares. I think it's weighted.
Oh, I see. It's weighted, but I would still get a vote.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, so somebody was talking about like fiduciary negligence, like if they don't take his offer, that could be illegal. So
you can make a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really exposing, which we all have known, but the fantasy that there is not this ideological tilt, that there's not this, it's not just partisanship. It's like they're, the media, big tech is just trying to erase a certain point of view. This is fully exposing it. It's already been exposed, but it's exposing it even more. I think his desire is to take Twitter back to what it was originally sold as. I mean, you guys remember when the internet was fun, right? Like the late 90s, early aughts, when it was just like, people were going to zombo.com like, oh, this is so cool. And like, you could just do whatever. I think, he came up, he's about our age, right?
Probably close. Yeah.
So he came up during that time. I mean, the time where it's like, the internet is egalitarian. It's totally free, it's free and open and everything goes and all this stuff. And then it just went off the rails. And I think, again, we were talking before about, our generation and our approach to technology and everything versus, say, a younger generation that was born into this. They don't know what they don't know. They weren't there. They don't understand how cool and free and open and groovy it was.
So
Elon
is
really
50.
was. Yeah. I don't know if it was all that free and open. I mean, you remember like Internet Explorer and their battle with Netscape
But I mean, I'm talking about that is correct. Yeah, and it wasn't like hippies, but even the hippies weren't the hippies. But I'm just saying,
a utopia. Let's not mislead the young people.
I'm just saying, the content-wise, it was fun, and now it's like a knife. It's like a back alley knife fight, right?
Well, it mirrors the rest of society, I think. Yeah. It mirrors like the cable news. It mirrors the movies, everything.
Well, what it did, I mean, what the internet allowed is social media, and what social media allows is social interaction without consequence and without being physically in the same room with somebody. So it allows, again, anonymity. It allows me to, make fun of someone or down talk them without having to worry about any immediate repercussions, things like that. And it's become incredibly powerful in shaping narratives, and more, I would say, more by exclusion than by what it promotes. I mean, I really think that our media and big tech in general, its real power is the power to not talk about stuff. Sorry.
Okay. So,
but anyway, I don't think he has any evil intent with it. And again, I'm not super into Twitter, and I'm not super into Elon. So, but just looking at it, I don't think he's trying to destroy it.
the big reveal there was and I guess it harkens back to our John Paul Mac Isaac episode, was the Hunter Biden laptop at the tail end of 2020, and how big tech shut that down and kicking Trump off of, I mean, a sitting president, and kicking him off of Twitter and Facebook. And that really got a lot of people's attention. And I think that's one of the reasons why Musk is making this push to purchase Twitter, because we've got and they accuse him of being an absolutist in terms of free speech. And I don't know what that means exactly. I don't think Twitter really would be allowing every single comment and everything. But you've got to get back to more of a fair ground for everyone.
Well, here's what I think he's looking for with this. I think he's looking for, I don't even think he's looking for the name Twitter. I think he's looking for the infrastructure. I think he's looking to buy something that's already there, twist it around to, or that's not the right word, manipulate it to what he feels his needs are. And I still very much do think that he is going for something where people can be a little more free about what they talk about and not be constantly censored.
Yeah.
That's my guess. I mean, he wants to buy a car, or he wants to buy all the chassis, the engine and all that, and then just change what the car looks like. You know what I mean? That's what I get from this. And I think that Twitter right now, they're in bed with people that might be a little more insidious, is probably too strong of a word, but I think that the current leadership of Twitter is probably more politically focused and likes the control that they have. I think that they could just as easily, if they felt that it was profitable, turn on a dime and become like the other side of things. Right now, though, for what it's worth, it seems like they're very focused on shutting the right down. And again, I'm not a big right guy, but I also don't think that that's at all cool. You need to hear from everybody. If you don't, then you're just getting one point of view.
I think there does have to be some moderation. I mean, I've seen a lot of, if you've been on Parler and some of these other sites, there's a lot of craziness. And, there's statistics like the one on Facebook where it said like 19 out of every 20 religious posts are coming from Eastern Europe. There's like a farm, an internet farm over there where they just generate this stuff and for whatever purpose they have. And there's a lot of misleading junk and stuff coming from Russia where they're trying to make one side, they're trying to pit us against each other. So I don't mind if there's some kind of moderation. I don't think you can just allow everything like the Wild West. You have to look at where it's coming from. If there's like fake identities, fake names. That's why Donald Trump always had the real Donald Trump as his Twitter handle, because somebody else was using Donald Trump, or people will try to, I think you got to moderate all that garbage as best you can, but not, like you said, it's a fine line between just kind of not allowing people to speak freely. If someone wants to say that, and I don't know if we want to get into this again, the vaccine, or that the coronavirus came from a lab, or that it didn't. I mean, why can't they just say that?
Which it likely did. Yeah.
I mean,
I'm going for the tag.
Or the Hunter Biden laptop, if you believe that it's real, Or if you don't believe that, why can't you just say that? I mean,
Yeah.
so
Well,
I mean, that's where it gets crazy.
I think, and Tom, to your point, I mean, it's all in words are important. So moderation and moderating, it's sort of like a referee. So if you're moderating a conversation, whether it's in real life, social media, or whatever, like say in a debate forum, the rules have to be transparent, and they have to apply equally to everybody based on those rules. Just like in our society, we have the rule of law. If you're speeding in a speeding zone, you get pulled over by a cop and you get a ticket. It's not like, well, if you're driving a GM product, it's okay. But if you're driving a Ford or Chrysler, look how old I am. I'm naming those companies. But anyway, so it's got to be transparent. It's got to be known. But I think when people say moderation, they want to keep off the people that are just, shit posting, like people that are just like all caps, screaming, whatever. I mean, stuff that just it worsens the conversation. It's like people just skip by it. They don't want to deal with it. Okay, that type of moderation I can get with, but there should not be
Moderation on
moderation. I mean, and when people say, well, we have to protect people from misinformation or disinformation, I fear the people who are trying to protect me from misinformation way more than I fear misinformation itself. Like I can figure out the difference, between that. And people shouldn't be relying on these sites for facts anyway. I don't know how we got to that expectation. Like I've never expected that since I was a kid. I mean, when the internet started, no one don't believe everything you see and all this stuff. And somehow now they say that the expectation is it has to all be like 100% real. It's impossible. You're never going to get that. I mean, especially now we have deep fakes, all that crazy technology going on. The thing with Twitter, even though it's not even, I don't know that the majority of people in the world use Twitter. It's probably a minority of people. It's just that it's so fast. It's that it can get that wave going. Like in like 10 minutes, it can be all over the world. And that's why it's so powerful. I mean, no one's picking up the New York Times and reading it all over the world, like right away. It takes a few days. But Twitter, it's like that. It's everywhere.
So I think something that I don't know if we've ever discussed it, but I don't even like the term social media, because in the world we grew up in, media meant the news. And the news should not be socially based. It shouldn't be based on where we come from. It should be based on the news. And I find it interesting that, so when you call it social media, you're saying we're the news, but we're not the news. But we're going to deliver the news and tell you how things are, and then you can, just go with us or not. But it's a very interesting choice of words, social media.
Yeah,
well,
I don't think media necessarily means news. It's associated with news a lot, but it could mean just anything. And I think the social, it's just a matter, social just means you can talk to other people through this media.
But I think that they knew that a large portion of the people that are consuming this do think of media as the news. That's
so it was choreographed from the beginning.
Yeah.
When they coined that term.
Well, I think social media, again, when it began, when it was fun, it's cat videos, and people taking pictures of their lunch, and people from high school.
Dancing Baby. Remember the Dancing Baby?
The Dancing Baby from Ally McBeal.
Yeah.
And
nice. Cool.
And then, the people that were like looking up their high school high school classmates to see who was a failure and who had a new Porsche or whatever. I mean, it was all this like, that was a social aspect. The thing that really turned all this and what made Facebook such a powerful, and Twitter such a powerful force in kind of like setting the narrative is news feeds. And again, this is where it gets into the power of exclusion. So people that were looking at their cat videos or, seeing who their high school flames new husband what he looks like and whatever, like all this cyber stalking stuff, whatever, somewhere between all of that, Twitter and Facebook started saying, hey, here's CBS News, special report about this happened in the world today, and da 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 da. And then like your friends new things would show up in your news feed, but then like hard news would show up in your news feed. And what they didn't necessarily pay for this. I mean, that's a whole other show, but as far as like the Facebook really got away with a long time just using this journalism for free and for their users and not paying the newspapers. But the power to exclude, it's now the people who are deciding and the algorithms that are deciding what news stories Zeus sees come up in his Facebook feed. That's where the worm turns. And I'll tell you one thing, it is.
What was he putting that mayonnaise on?
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's
trying to be subtle.
It's not a wide range of viewpoints, put it that way. And that's really when people talk about the issue of social media. It's the Twitters and the Facebooks with the legacy media that is hand in glove with the Democrat Party. Where you have Jen Psaki, who's a spokesperson, who's going to MSNBC. People from CBS enter the administration, and again, this happens on the Republican side as well. But this media and kind of like political elite hand in glove, and now they've got the social media that can filter and just push what their message is and exclude other stories. And it's immensely powerful, man.
I don't understand how Psaki can be. She's already at MSNBC, but she's still acting as the spokesperson. Isn't that a conflict?
I don't know if she has actually signed paperwork with MSNBC yet, but either way, it's still whether she has or hasn't, it's still a conflict of interest. I mean, here's
the key question, and let me pose this to you guys. So is Twitter a public forum for speech? Because this is really the crux of the matter, because Twitter keeps saying that they're not a public forum, they're a private company, therefore they don't have to grant free speech to everybody. Well, I have been arguing for years that Twitter is a public forum, and so is Facebook, because we don't have the town square anymore. Like we had in the old days. This is where people are going. You see official news posts from public figures, not only celebrities, but politicians, governors, senators. They post things from there. So to me, this is 100% a public forum, and therefore it's the free speech has to be protected on that medium. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I mean, there's a back and forth with between the government and Facebook. I mean, there's this isn't a conspiracy theory. There have been meetings, many dozens and dozens and dozens, maybe 100 over the years between back when Sergey and the other guy was still at Google, with the administration, whatever it was at that time. Mark Zuckerberg coming to DC. I mean, this guy comes to the White House more often than anybody. So there is collusion that's been going on, and it is an arm. And to your point, Tom, yes, it's like, and this is the whole thing about the Section 230 regulation. Is it a platform or is it a publisher? And now they are saying that they're a platform and that they're just anyone can get on and post whatever. But that's not true. I can't get on. I can't post whatever. So they are a publisher. They are exercising editorial control over what is on their platform, their system, which makes them a publisher, which makes them liable for, you know, all kinds of stuff. But they're still, everyone's pretending that they're a platform. They should be a platform. That's what I think, that's what Musk wants. I think that's best for everybody.
Well,
but they're kind of getting the best of both worlds. They're getting the protections of a platform, but they're behaving as a publisher. They're behaving with editorial intent.
I think this is another one of the power of language arguments, is that, again, I know I don't want to harp on what I was saying, but when you call it media, they've changed what media means. It's no longer Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather, Ted Koppel, newsmen.
Jon Stewart.
Fuck you.
Jon Stewart.
I'll stick by that. But actually, he went kind of basket case recently, I think. So maybe I take that back. But I think when you change what media means to society, you change. It's drastic. It causes. It has bad effects, because now we look at that as our source. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I go to Facebook every once in a while. I don't go to get my news, but I go to see what's being talked about. You know, I mean, like with our last episode on RaDonda Vaught, I saw that and found it interesting, and I'm glad we touched on it, because I think it's gonna have a massive effect on the medical industry, at least as from nurses' standpoints. So did I use social media to see what, to tap the vein of society and see what's flowing? Yeah, but I didn't get my news from it. I went to whatever the sources were, and then we went one level more, and it was great. We got some other people that have been paying attention to this, and we talked about it. Mm-hmm. But we're on this show, in relation to what we've talked about earlier, like, what are we? We're pragmatists. This is a real problem. Like, that's a real problem. And I'm not going to go tangent on it, but everything is read between the lines right now. And a lot of people don't want to read between the lines. And I think Elon Musk taking over Twitter is going to make us not have to read between the lines as much. I really feel like he's going to put a little balance in there. People do. I don't know why everybody says nobody's paying attention to Twitter anymore, because 2 years ago, all we were hearing was tweets. So it's still valid. The problem is that it's sullied and it's dirty, and it needs to be more crisp and clean and provide us with sources to go to, not necessarily provide us with the news, but kind of lead us to say, this is what you should be looking at. I mean, I really dig this guy. I think he's like, like my picture in the background, I think he's the modern day. I think he's the modern day Iron Man. I mean, he's a futurist. That's what Tony Stark was. I think there's a lot of stuff to be said for him outside of just this social media thing. The guy, one of my favorite things that he did recently was he gave internet to the Ukraine, man. They blasted it out, and he said, screw that, I'm going to drop a few, Wi-Fi towers out there.
Well, it wasn't, so it's, the name is escaping me right now, but
Starlink.
It's hit, what?
I think it's called Starlink.
Starlink, right. It's his low Earth orbit, thousands of satellites. I think that it would be like 12,000 satellites eventually. But the interesting thing is, yeah, he concentrated and opened it up because it's a pay service. It's probably like $500-600, I think, to buy into it. You have to get the dish and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. But you can use it all over the world. You don't need to have, if we lose power, as long as you still have a way to power your phone in a system, you can still get internet. It's not, you're not going to be relying on like FiOS or, you know, a wire coming into your house, which is great. But when he provided that for Ukraine, no one really picked up the story, but people were calling on him to to make sure that Russian propaganda was not available. And he was like, free speech is free speech, man. Like, he's like, I'm just providing it. And so, he is kind of a true believer in that regard for it. You know, I mean, he opened it up, but Russia's still able to get their own. In other words, Russia can use it for their own communications. I mean, part of the reason why, you know, when Russia first came in, they didn't immediately start destroying that stuff because they needed it for their own logistics. You know, it wasn't until it kind of the worm turned and became more to their advantage to do so. But anyway, you know, I mean, yeah.
Here's the thing. He, you know, for all it's worth, America, I love America. We were doing nothing, and this guy went in and fixed it on his own dime. He was like, this is unjust. And I get what you're saying, but here's the thing, and this is sad. We've talked about it before, but we're so dependent on this internet thing, and we've lost our ability to gather information without it. So at the end of it all, what he did was he gave Ukrainians the ability to know what was going on, and at least, again, I hate to say it, but read between the lines and figure out what was going on, which I think is just massive. I think it was altruistic. I mean, yeah, he looks like a hero at the end of it all, but I still think, you know, that's got to put a few, you know, I'm sure he walks outside and looks for red dots on his chest. You know what I mean? He's making making enemies.
I'm trying to figure out what I was trying to, and I think you alluded to it, Zeus. What could he possibly do with Twitter beyond it just being social media? I'm trying to think, does he want to like integrate it into his Teslas or use it with, you know, nanotechnology or those VR glasses? Or I'm trying to think, you know, what is he, does he just want this just to provide free speech, kind of like the thing with Starlink, where he's just doing a good deed? Or does he have some plan? Do you guys think he has some other plans for what he could use Twitter for?
Well, I mean, one, he is a futurist. He believes in the inherent goodness of humanity, right?
I really believe that too.
Which, you know, again, these days can get you labeled all kinds of things. This is a tangent. You know, he's called all kinds of names. He's definitely more of a libertarian than anything. But there is this definite split in our society that I've seen, at least. I haven't come up with a name for it yet, but people that tend to be more believers in personal liberty and concern the governed and, you know, classical constitutional ideas tend to like their fellow humans a lot more than people that are more into authoritarianism and totalitarianism and Marxism tend to have a very low opinion of their fellow people. So anyway, he's definitely the former in that. But I think for Twitter, this guy has 80 some million followers, right? Trump, I think, at his peak was around 80 million. So I think Trump at the time had the largest following on Twitter, I believe. So the reason we're talking about Elon Musk and a lot of his brand and a lot of his cachet and his power, if you will, or whatever, his relevance in our culture comes from Twitter. If it wasn't for Twitter, we wouldn't know, you know, he wouldn't have been challenging Putin. We wouldn't have known about that necessarily. It allows him a way to kind of communicate.
People can relate to him.
And people can relate to him. And there are Elon Musk super fans out there, man. This guy's a cult of personality. No question about it. I mean, no question about it. So I think that's the other reason he likes it, is it's what his whole thing is built on right now. That's his way of communicating with people, primarily.
Is there any nefarious purpose that you can fathom? Or
I think he saw the writing on the wall that if something doesn't change, he was going to be off of it.
Right.
And from a business standpoint, that can't happen. So, if they can take the president of the United States off, and all it's going to take, look, he is rash. Elon Musk is rash to a degree. Like a normal person. I don't think he's crazy. I mean, but he's, whatever. I mean, he went on Joe Rogan when he was being under the magnifying glass of the SEC, and he was like smoking a joint. Like that's, I mean,
kind of badass.
He's kind of badass in that regard. So, I think he felt that he needs Twitter, and I think he saw that he was going to be leaving. He was going to get kicked off eventually.
Well, I think he's a capitalist, obviously. And so this trend towards socialism and communism, if he gets kicked off of Twitter and you can't, then people that have his way of thinking are getting kicked off of Twitter. Trump was a businessman as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
that is
Elon
dangerous
Musk
for the future.
He's like the great white hope, or he's the devil. Because I've said it before, the devil's going to charm you. He's not going to come out with a pitchfork and split feet. He's going to make you like him. So
the way I see it, I mean, like I said, we said this before. It's like Twitter doesn't want me. They don't. I mean, I see these stories like this is a little bit of a tangent, but this whole Washington Post story that came out like yesterday or today, this tech reporter who doxed the woman that runs libs of TikTok or whatever like that. Anyway, so it's all over Twitter, and so I'm seeing like you read a news story and it's got Twitter links embedded in it, because that, like, to what Zeus was saying earlier, or you, Tom, that's
Fox
the
is
medium.
notorious for it. I can't stand it. Like their entire stories is just like tweet, and that's their news.
Who?
Fox.
Who? Oh, yeah. Yep. So I clicked on the thing just to see like, okay, what's this woman Lorenz? What's she saying? But I can't participate in that conversation because I'm not allowed on Twitter, because I thought that there was a lab leak back in spring of 2020.
I hate that there's paywalls as well. Like New York Times, I think, does it. You click on the story and then it's like, well, if you want to read more,
you gotta buy New York Times,
or the ones, and whatever, all of them do this, where they're like this amazing video showing blah blah blah, and you click on the story and there's no link to any video. It's like, what are you guys doing, man?
Again, Fox does that on their app. Their app needs to be upgraded.
Oh, I don't even use their app, but I probably should.
I have not used Twitter. Here's the interesting thing. I have not used Twitter at all. Like, I don't use it at all. If he buys it, I'm going to be using the hell out of it. That's how powerful a personality he is. It's like, and again, like you said, he doesn't give off this insincerity at all. I'll refer to there's a video where he was like talking to like the smartest man in China.
Hey, Michael. The smartest man in China who doesn't live in China.
Oh, so you saw it? You saw the video?
No, I didn't. I'm just saying, whoever he is, he probably doesn't live there anymore.
I disagree with Musk on this one, but keep going.
Okay, no, sorry.
Well, it was just this guy kept saying all these snarky comments, and just the beauty of Elon is he just looked at him incredulous, and he was like, "No, actually, I don't think anything you're saying makes sense." Like he's like, "No."
What was the context? Or what
the guy said that humans are smarter than computers, and Musk like very quickly like quipped back. He's like, not even close.
Yeah,
I disagree with that. I think humans, because a computer cannot create the Mona Lisa, or a computer cannot write Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, or Romeo and Juliet. Humans are so much more creative and therefore smarter than computers. Computers can calculate, or do what we tell them to do, what we program.
Well, I think a computer could write Romeo and Juliet, but it would come with another 7 trillion stories that aren't as good. Like,
like
you know
a
what I
billion
mean?
monkeys at a billion typewriters.
Yeah, exactly. No, and yeah, absolutely. The computing power, and there's a finite number of words, and yeah, so eventually it could.
But
I mean, it is the quintessential question, right? I mean, and we're really blurring the lines. You can look back in the earlier Friends of Zeus podcast episode where we talk about artificial intelligence, robotics, and supercomputers. For more on this subject,
please watch that. It's one of our lowest rated.
One of our lowest rated ones.
Somebody needs to watch that episode.
Please go right now. We'll wait for you. We're going to take an hour pause in this podcast. Go watch that one, and then you can come back. But no, I mean, the whole thing with it, and I get you, Tom. I mean, look, if I didn't agree with you, then it's like, man, that would be very depressing. I have to agree with you because otherwise it's just sad, right? I mean, if we're just the net result of our computational power,
right? But I mean, the point is, he like humiliated this guy and kind of mocked him on stage in front of a live audience, and I don't think he was even right. I mean,
you know, I don't know. But I like the fact that it's not so much about that. The guy was pontificating and kind of talking down to him a little, and
not even using his native language. I mean, he was speaking English.
Right.
So Chinese guy. So I mean, there's a bit of things were lost in translation.
I get all that, but and I just appreciated that. I appreciate a guy that doesn't filter himself, and Elon definitely.
Well, yeah, that's true.
You know, I mean, that's kind of what we are. We may dance around something if we feel like it's going to go down a dark place, and we don't want to offend people, but as far as our beliefs, we're pretty unfiltered. You know, we say what we want, and if people don't like it, you know, they're not going to listen. And that's probably why we've, you know, not a super show yet. But
I just thought of something. I mean, and again, well, no, I mean, I can't believe I didn't. When Tom was asking, like, why would are there nefarious reasons for Musk doing this? You know, trying to take over Twitter.
Oh.
The thing that's like right in front of our faces, Musk at his heart is a capitalist, right? He's a businessman. He may just see immense potential because think about it. Right now, you know, Friends of Zeus podcast gets on every week and we down talk Twitter, you know, to all of our viewers that are watching. And there's other people out there, like half the country.
One of us does.
half the country that could be using it isn't using it because it's like it's a cesspool, right?
Yeah.
And there's even people that are ideologically, you know, more in line with the people that make the editorial decisions on Twitter, but it is just sort of like schoolyard crap too, you know. I mean, so it has a lot of distaste. So maybe he sees an opportunity that if he can like kind of like level the playing field, here's the rules, have it be transparent, blah, 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 that would bring back a lot of people. I mean, you know, people are saying, well, the stock price was $80 a share back in 2020, blah, 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 you know. So it has been
free advertising when you think of it. If you got 80 million followers, and you post on there, hey, this is the new model of Tesla.
You can't
80 million people that see it right away.
Bypass all that stuff for free.
You don't have to pay for a
How about he just throws the chum in the water and says, hey, Tesla stock is a good buy right now. Well, 80 million people.
Done that with Bitcoin.
But he can get in trouble if he's that's what got him in trouble with the SEC.
He did get in trouble.
But my point being, maybe that's a bad
you can't
example,
do that.
But there is something to say for being able to like throw the chum in the water and see what sharks come for it. It's 80 million people. If you get 1%, you're going to make some money off those. You know what I mean? So like,
Well,
Nefarious? I don't
We
know.
should invite him on the show.
we should. He may
He's
actually
got
come
80
on.
million followers.
Mike,
So-
when you go for coffee later, will you talk to Joe? Because I know Joe had him on the show, and they shared libations of the variety.
Yeah.
I think Joe might be able to get us a talk.
Well, the thing is,
At
when you
the
get
water cooler down
when
the
you
hall.
when you get to 80 million people on your Twitter account, you got to start doing things like Friends of Zeus to get those last 3 or 4 people that
Those last 3 or 4.
aren't on there.
I don't know. Right now, there's
people-
about 120.
Well, here's something.
People
And
like
again,
our co-host that has trouble logging in all the time.
yes.
I'm sorry, Jack. He's going to listen to this.
One thing that that I am definitely not up on, and it's very strange to me, and I don't fully understand it, is like influencer culture. These people that make a living just by being online on Instagram and taking their pictures with, like, here's the latest.
You know why you don't get it?
Hewlett Packard mouse I'm using, whatever, they get paid by HP.
I have a
Coachella, Coachella's going on, or it's coming up or whatever. And there was a story about there's this like side festival going on by some clothing brand. And all it was like a party where they set up all these like photo op things. So they had like an amusement park ride, some palm trees, some weird mirrors with roses, kind of in the middle of nowhere, just so these Instagram people could like take a picture that looked good in front of it. And someone took a picture like back showing, and it's just all these people with like their phones or like other people taking their pictures. And like there's nothing really going on. So if you see this picture on Instagram of like Kendall Jenner out there, it's like, oh man, she's having so much fun. But there's no there. They're just taking pictures.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, I think 80 million people that Musk has, I don't think these people have anything near approaching that. I don't understand it, but there's definitely, that is a value. I mean, having 80 million, being able to tweet and 80 million people see it.
You know what I like?
There's a dollar value you can put to that, and it's
because
not
you don't know what he's going to
amount.
say now. He's like the Howard Stern a little bit. I mean, because nobody follows Bezos, because Bezos doesn't challenge a Russian to a wrestling match.
He's Tony Stark, man. He's Tony freaking Stark. I'm telling you, he's Iron Man. I mean, you don't watch the Marvel movies, but he is the embodiment of that whole. I'm going to say what's on my mind. If you don't like it, turn away, but you're not going to turn away because you like it. You know what I mean? I think he's great.
He makes his own stuff.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's successful with everything he does. How can you not admire that? The Tesla is going to change the world. It's going to change the world. These batteries that people are putting in their houses to like save electricity. He's doing good work. I don't know how it's nefarious. I mean, yes,
it may not be. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there for discussion. I don't know.
Well, the other thing is, like, when Bezos took over the Washington Post, I don't remember the Washington Post and everyone having all these, fits about having a billionaire take over a major, media company.
Point.
But now when it's Musk, it's some huge problem or whatever.
And wasn't there billionaires owning Twitter already? I mean,
I guess so. Yeah, George.
Here's the difference. Elon Musk is like when we think about him taking over, we look forward to it.
Yeah.
When Bezos takes over something, and Elon doesn't have
we look forward to it. I think not everybody looks forward to it.
He's got 80 million viewers. A lot of people do. But
I know, but there's half of the country that's very upset about him taking over Twitter
because they don't want to lose.
Yeah, because they don't want to lose their exclusion power.
Hand.
But here's the thing, like,
as George Costanza once pontificated, you got to have hand. Remember that episode? No, never mind.
here's the difference. Bezos has a reputation of being a prick, and I don't know. Have you guys heard? I heard this one story about he had like his assistant. She went away for 2 weeks, and then he took over her job, and then when she got back, he fired her. But which it was true, but he also gave her 52 weeks of pay and a substantial amount of stock in his businesses. His argument was not, I don't want to say cruel, because she got another job. She was working for Tesla. It's not like she was going to go somewhere and not find work.
Oh, this is Musk.
Yeah, Musk.
Oh, okay.
But he gave her 52 weeks of pay, and they said that she asked for a raise and he fired her. That part was untrue. He just, when she left, he found out that he could do that job along with everything else he was doing. This guy must work like 18 hours a day. But he gave her that and a buttload of stock, and like that even got squashed. He came on and he was like, yeah, this part's true. Like, I like that he does that. He's like, yes, I did something that you may not like, but hear me out. Like,
I don't think he's dishonest. I mean, because I
think he's quite genuine. Yeah.
Yeah, he strikes me as being very genuine. And the thing, when people get on him with stuff, they're like, he's not going to be able to get us to Mars, and the U.S. government should be doing this. And it's like, okay, well then they haven't, and he is.
Right.
And if
NASA's not even government, right? NASA's
it is. Well, it's pseudo. Yeah,
it's government, I think.
Yeah, it's government. But if Musk fails, he fails, right? It's not. We're not paying taxes to. Well, we are with Tesla. I mean, we do subsidize Tesla sales for sure, but that's not on.
But that's with good reason.
But I'm saying, but that's not on him. I mean, he's not forcing that. But anyway, yeah, he doesn't strike me as someone that he's too imperfect to be lying. If he's lying, then he's playing like 5-dimensional chess and whatever he wins.
Good on you, yeah. Tom, did you ever check? Because we were talking about this earlier when we were talking about the episode. You never found out?
No.
The rumor is that he's Asperger's, which makes me just like him all the more. That could be untrue, but he does have that quirky quality that, like, it's definitely an odd bird.
Well,
like, you can probably Google it real quick.
He's the wealthiest guy in the world.
Pull a Jamie.
I think a lot of people use Asperger's as like, if someone's eccentric. I mean, look, human beings it's a wide spectrum of people. And look, the guy owns a company that's trying to get people to Mars, the largest electric car company. He's trying to buy Twitter. He's a little eccentric, right? I mean, he's not making donuts down at the corner donut shop.
If
the guy's
they'd be the cool. They'd probably fly to you.
They'd probably fly to you.
Flying donuts.
Electric donuts.
He's not selling hot dogs.
Electric donut acid test.
You have to be a little eccentric to even get to do what he's doing.
Well, you got to be, I mean, for what it's worth, if he's got Asperger's, he's got that idiot savant kind of thing going on where he can just think up shit that we weren't even considering,
So why go to Mars? What would you do?
Right.
Because it's there. Why climb a mountain?
Yeah.
I know, but what's the plan, the long-term plan?
I think he's trying to save humanity.
I really do.
Yeah. From because
inevitably we will look.
If you listen to the last TED Talk, he's not like a doomsday environmentalist that thinks that the world's going to end. And
but maybe that's because he knows the way to
Greta
save it.
Thunberg.
But it's like manifest destiny. He wants to. We need to go somewhere. We're on here. The world has gotten
just
smaller.
That sort of thing, or is it?
Well, it could also be that there's resources. It's the next big thing. I mean, if you're the richest person in the world, what's your challenge? Like,
does Mars have
your golf game? Or?
There's certain metals we need for the batteries, and that we're running out of. We can't make enough batteries.
Yeah,
I think it's nickel and something else. Does Mars? I don't know if Mars has that.
Is he into the whole theory that our humankind started on Mars? I'm not sure.
Is Musk into that?
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
I don't know. I mean,
What's the
that could
theory?
be.
That
Well, we've talked about it, but
men are from Mars and women are from
no,
Venus.
our species began on Mars and that we escaped to Earth before Mars was decimated.
Okay,
Like,
and now we're going to go back. Now we're going to decimate Earth and then go back to Mars.
Not that we decimated Mars, but that, it had some event that wiped out its atmosphere and blah, 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 blah.
It could have
whatever.
just been like an asteroid hit or something.
Something like that. I mean, there's a lot of scars, on Mars, but I mean, it definitely, there's many credible theories that Mars was an inhabitable Earth-like planet at some point, in the distant past.
I'd heard that Venus is more like in the sweet spot of planets in terms of where it's at in proximity to the sun. So Venus should be the one.
Isn't Venus mostly like gas though? Like, isn't it more of a gaseous? I don't know. Sulfur is like super. Yeah.
But it should be, and maybe it just hasn't. And maybe it needs a few billion more years, and it'll be there. It'll continue to develop and form as more and more. I think
Mars is the new mountain. Like, why'd you climb the mountain? Because it's there. Why are we going west? Why are we discovering the new world? I think that's part of it. I mean, there's definitely. I mean, look at Branson. Probably more than Bezos. I mean, Branson is an adventure thrill seeker type guy, too.
It's really funny that the one thing you need to get to Mars, which is the rockets, is the one thing that you can't have an electric rocket.
Not at the moment. You're never going to get out of it.
Plane. You can have a ship.
It's not enough.
Car.
You need too much energy.
Because you need that combustion to push you, I guess.
Well, it's just the thing with, rocket fuel. It's a matter of weight and density to what joules of power that are coming out or whatever. So, it's energy dense. Rocket fuel is like the weight of it, the room it takes up, the ratio between that and the thrust you get out of it is enough to get you out of the gravitational pool of Earth.
Isn't it solid to a point, and then when it hits air, it turns liquid?
Yeah, I'm not totally into it, but it's. I think it's two different fuels, two different components that are mixed together at the time of combustion. Solid rocket fuel and something else.
Yeah. For all we know, he's going to come up with a way to travel to space with an electric spaceship.
I find it interesting that he hasn't gone. I mean, Branson went up, Bezos went up in their little forest things.
Do it. I'm surprised Bezos.
But Musk hasn't.
I mean, that was a big risk,
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the funny.
He launched a Tesla into space. Do you remember that? Sorry. I was
just going to say that. The funny thing about him is he sent one of his cars out into space. Just maybe somebody will.
And it wasn't just any car. It was his personal roadster that he used to drive to work. That's
hilarious.
It was a first generation
he sent
Tesla.
A car into space. He
sent a car into space. Yeah. When they
is it just like going like the space like
it's
the
Voyager?
It's just going.
Yeah, it's just like Voyager. So it was when they first tested.
One day it'll land on like Alpha Centauri or something.
It was the first practical test of the Falcon Heavy, I believe. The Falcon Heavy, the rocket, which is basically, I think, 3 dragons kind of strapped together. So he needed something for payload, and so he put his Tesla in there, and they put a dummy in the driver's seat dressed in the SpaceX spacesuit, and the convertible lid is off of the thing, and it's all covered with cameras. And I think there's a website you can still check it out. I think they lost track of it a while ago, but when it launched, you could see it like weeks later. It was like this guy in a spacesuit just flying through space with Earth in the background.
So he had a choice of either putting it in the Smithsonian, like next to like Fonzie's jacket and
or launching it into space,
chair, or just shooting it out in space.
But this is why people love him, because the whole I think, and now I remember it, they needed the rocket was designed to carry a payload, so they needed like some certain amount of payload in there from a weight stand, to balance the center of gravity and blah blah blah. So they were just going to load it with dead weight, and he was like, "No, man, use
Send my car into space."
Yeah, Tesla. I love that.
He's a cool cat, man.
But that's why people like him, man. I mean, that's
right now, like if we had a list of people that I wanted to meet, he's got to be number one. Got to be number one.
What do you think he's going to do with the nano technology? Because this could go into like medicine.
Well, Bill Gates has been doing that. He's been putting it into the vaccines, the COVID-19 vaccines. So
don't
really the guy.
Oh my God. Okay, you're editing this episode.
No, but I think, so when he was talking to Joe Rogan, I think he was talking about Neuralink, and that sounds fascinating.
Neuralink,
yeah. I think that's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, he's trying to figure out a way where we can like read each other's minds, which I think is fascinating.
This is, I don't know. I'm a little scared of this concept. So
Neuralink
everybody would kind of be able to know what I'm thinking.
It's more than that. It's basically being able to hook your brain directly into a supercomputer or the internet or what have you. So, and his explanation of it is like, if you look back at like baud speed, the early computers were like 300 baud and then 1200, 24, 56.
Oh, like BBSs?
Like BBSs, right. So,
go back and watch our BBS episode, by the way. That one needs some help as well.
You watch the BBS episode?
I hope this isn't like the trifecta of nonsense.
So maybe. So, if you look at like the brain, if the brain is like a computer, right? So it can process X amount of information. So we can take in a certain amount through touch, through our eyes, smell, hearing, what have you. So his contention is that the brain is capable of much higher processing speeds, and that it's limited by the meat interface that we have, right? And that if you could just wire your brain directly into a computer, that it would be able to process.
It would enhance your brain.
Yes.
Well, no. It's not that it would enhance your brain. It's that it would the baud speed, right? The internet connection speed would be up to what your brain can handle.
I'm sure this is exactly how Elon explains it.
He did. This is exactly how he explained it. Guys, it was like,
about baud speed.
Mike has used the term baud like 3 times, and that, you know what? In the last 20 years.
No one does.
3 times I've heard the term baud.
It's like the connection speed, right? So basically his contention is that the brain's very powerful, but our interface, it throttles that down. It starves.
Like
yeah.
Like a what?
But my contention is, I think our slow speed as it is, when you compare it to, say, a supercomputer, protects our brain. I think we could fry ourselves if we have that capability, and you plug yourself into that.
What's the purpose though? I mean, just to calculate? Why do we need to? We have computers that can calculate things.
I don't know.
Why do we need to be connected?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think it kind of goes with something that Rogan talked about one time, where like we're taking in information. Like, actually, the dangerous thing might be taking in the information at the speed that it's coming at us, but not having the processing skills to absorb it all.
Right.
So, like they say that you only hear like 1 out of every 7 words.
Right.
That's nonsense, but the logic can be followed. And Rogan has often talked about like our little pea brains. The reason we're going like cuckoo crazy over these last couple of decades is because we're just not meant to take in information at the pace that we have.
Well, even if you use it as storage, you don't even want that, I don't think, because you don't want to store every single thing that you hear. Right. Because a lot of it's going to be garbage or misinformation.
So here's the thing. Maybe this Neuralink is the thing that makes us able to process more.
I just figured it out.
Okay.
So Musk is going to hook everyone up to the Neuralink, and then he's going to post on Twitter and tell everyone to go to Mars. And he's going to have the rockets waiting. He's going to ship everyone to Mars, and then he's going to have the whole planet here to himself.
Oh.
Sweet. Why would he stay here? I'd rather go to Mars.
Because Mars, everyone's going to die there, dude. Who wants to go to Mars?
Wait, so he's
Look at
basically
it.
just
Look at it.
executing everybody?
It's desolate. He's talking it up. He's short selling Mars. He's talking it up, and then he's going to dump it.
Yeah. Remember that old thing? And this is older technology, like 30 or 40 years ago, but they had a way where they could hook up they would hook you up to like these little sensors in your eyes, and they could watch, and then they would play a video on the screen, and they could see what you were looking at.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they show a picture
It's like
of a
a true,
woman.
it's like a lie detector of sorts.
Yeah.
Like,
And do you look at the woman's face, or do you look, lower? So they could kind of see where your eyes are going and what catches your eye. It was fascinating. But that seems like, to me, that's what it would kind of head towards, is kind of measuring or recording what your thoughts are or what you're thinking, so that advertisers could then because that seems to drive everything with social media.
Yeah,
the advertisers.
Here's my thing. I'm all for Neuralink, but I'm not going to be the first one to try it either. It's kind of like the COVID vaccine. Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, sure. Sounds like it'll keep me safe, but I'm going to wait till a million other people did it first.
Let's all get Neuralink. Hey, I got to go do something. If I'm not there, you guys go ahead and get started. I'll be right behind you.
Yes,
yeah. I'll be there later this afternoon.
But again, I don't think
I'm going to wait for the 3600 baud version, not the 2400 baud.
Yeah, I'm gonna pass on the BBS version of it.
Yeah, go right.
Every morning you wake up and you just hear in your brain, it's like, I'm waking up.
So,
but even with this, I don't think there's anything that he's trying to do that's insidious. And
if he is, then whatever. It can't get any worse.
Right.
Yeah.
If he is, then he got us, because I'm on board. I'm on board with it being done. But like I said, I'm too old to have a Neuralink.
But even the things that he's done for money-making endeavors, they've been beneficial to mankind. Like the Tesla. I mean, what's wrong with that?
The Tesla's massive. It literally, if all he did was the Tesla, changed the world for the better. Like, absolutely. He proved it could be done effectively. And this is just the beginning. The Teslas are babies in this technology.
Here's the
crush.
Sorry.
You know what I mean? It's the Tesla is just a baby in this technology. It's going to only get better. Next thing you know, we're going to have flying cars with this.
He does. I mean, the whole thing with electric, like he wants to do like the big rigs, which is great. I mean, you want to talk about. I mean, I'm not like a super climate alarmist or anything, but if you want to like reduce emissions, look at the freight, over the road truck market, if you can get that. But anyway, the thing that Musk did at the beginning with Tesla, which no one else did, was he made electric cars sexy. And that is why the original Roadsters, which I don't know if you guys have ever seen one or been in one, they're tiny. They're like the size of a Mazda Miata, 2-seater, convertible, almost like a Honda Del Sol, not full convertible. They like a Del Sol, they still had the back window.
Yeah.
But before that, if you look like at the GM, the EV1 and the EV2 that GM was coming out with, and you look at like the Honda, can't remember, the Insight, I think they were like jelly bean cars. Like they looked like, they look like lame, like nerdy mobiles. And he was like, look, and he actually said this one time, I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, if electric cars are going to succeed, they need to be sexy. And he did it. And the rest is history after that. And that is a sweet looking car. the original
The
Roadster.
symbol's even cool looking. You
The
know what I
symbol's
mean?
even
Yeah.
cool looking.
Yeah.
So he's a marketing guy. He's a brand guy. You know, I mean, he's a personality. He is his company. You can't separate the two. One
No.
thing that I thought about with Twitter, which is a thing that makes it very fraught, and again, this is a theme we've touched on before, but you know, back in the ancient times, you know, you would say like in Baltimore, you know, I think there are like 3 or 4 newspapers.
Ancient Baltimore.
Ancient Baltimore. 150 years ago, there was like 3 or 4 major newspapers, you know, that had a huge circulation. I mean, you know, everyone in the city was buying them. And then now you have 1 newspaper in Baltimore. But anyway, Twitter tries to be everything to everyone. Part of the reason why there's so much conflict is we're not meant as human beings where everyone's on the same page about everything all the time.
No,
And
that's anti-evolution.
It's and our society, or like our recent modern society in the last 20 years has really shrunk the world down. And you know, it's the gun debate. Again, we've talked about this before. People that are in Manhattan are like, I don't see why any reason anyone needs to have a gun. And people in like Montana are like, how could you not have a gun? Like I have, you know, there's bears out here, whatever they have out in Montana. I don't know. I've never been out there. My point is, you can't just have the same thing. Sasquatch, right? Bigfoot, you know, you got to, but I'm just saying you can't have the same thing for everyone. But Twitter is, it is the square peg round hole. It's trying to make this one thing fit everywhere. And it's doomed from the get. It's going to be a shit show.
Well, why did it always work for like the nightly news, the nationwide broadcast of like Dan Rather?
Well, because they eliminated
Tom Brokaw.
Well, they eliminated conflicting views. They just picked a side and allowed that to be the major source of their information.
Well, I think also the nightly news, and again, I know I'm a nerd in this, but I was reading newspapers back when I was like 7 or 8 years old.
Nerd.
And I know. And I remember this stuff very specifically. So the nightly news that would come on, say in like 1980, 1979, it was like Cliff Notes. It was, and people took it as that. Yeah, it was, I read about the story in the morning newspaper, and then there's going to be more tonight. And newspapers like the Baltimore Sun had a morning and evening edition, because the evening edition would update stories from the morning edition. So people would watch the nightly news. Mainly what the news, TV news brought was video. So you'd read it in the paper, you'd see one photo, but on the nightly news, you would hear the sounds, you would see the video, you would get some context. And it was the Cliff Notes. Cliff Notes, by the way, people, are short retellings of longer stories.
Here's an interesting thing I just thought about too, is we've gone from, it used to be, and this was annoying when this was happening, but do you remember there was a time where it was like something in your house could kill your child. More at 11. Yeah. And now we're just like, the world is falling apart.
That was the original clickbait.
Yeah.
To get you to tune in. And then even when you turn it on at 11 o'clock, they don't do that story until like 11:29.
But now it's just like everything's falling apart. Here's why immediately. Like you just walk into the news and it's like,
and it's incessant now. It's all the time.
Killing babies.
You can't get away from it, man. I mean, again, this is man. We're going off on a tangent. But I mean, TV stations would go off the air at midnight, man. Like they'd go to static, right? Because it was like, go to bed, go live your life, man. Go
you
do
used
something
to hear
else.
The Star Spangled Banner and
like F-16 flying around. I'm just saying the Eagle,
the F-16,
you know, whatever. I'm just saying people had other things to do, and now it's like, people look at
Do you
their
remember
phones.
waiting for the TV to come on in the morning?
Yes,
Ever get
I
up
do.
like
Oh,
so
yeah.
early, you like turn it on and it's not on yet? You're like,
and we're really going on a tangent, but how
It's
about
great. It's fine. Let's let it ride, Dan.
how
Let it
about
ride.
Saturday morning used to be the best time
Yes.
in the world.
Yes.
Spider-Man and his amazing friends, Team Turbo, like just
Scooby-Doo.
Prof Superstars, like
yeah.
Dude,
God,
I told my daughter the other day. I told my daughter the other day. I was like, and I always do this. I'm such an old man, but I was like, "Hun, when I was a kid, cartoons were only on Saturday morning. That was it. If you wanted to watch a cartoon on Wednesday, you were fucked." I didn't tell her that, but I said, you couldn't watch a cartoon
I remember
on a
the
Wednesday.
day when they put Scooby-Doo on like after school, like every day, and my brother told me. I remember my reaction. I was like, "What? It's gonna be on every day? No way. That's not gonna."
That's impossible, man.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Well, I don't know, guys. Have we done our Elon Love Fest yet?
I think Elon. I think my prediction is he's going to win out on this one. If he wants, I don't see how they can stop it without.
If he really wants it, I mean,
I don't see how they can stop
even if
him.
he pays a lot more than he wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Listen, whatever he offered, let's call it
$43 billion.
He was lowballing. He's got another $43 billion. He's fine with paying for it.
But he's not liquid, man. These guys aren't Bezos. These guys don't just have it sitting in a bank account. I mean,
yeah, but I trust that this guy can make it happen. I trust that he can listen. How much money does he have? I think he probably does actually have $43 billion in his wallet.
I mean, I've heard where he, a scenario where they do this poison pill thing and they're able to reject it, and then he takes his 9%, says, "Okay, screw you guys, I'm out." He sells and basically rounded up 10% of the company. Stock crashes. He swoops in 2 weeks later, buys up even more, and then does it again. I mean, they're not going to be able to beat him. The only way they can is if they can bring in some buyers group or some other person to counter his offer.
He had to have thought of that. I mean, he's so smart.
He's smart. No,
he wasn't anticipating the poison pill.
No, he was anticipating that. He knows exactly. He's playing out the thread.
He's kind of, again, I'll lean to my earlier term. He's kind of badass.
He is kind of badass.
I'm not sure, but you guys think he's going to end up with it at the end of the day? He's going to.
I think he's going to end up with it at the end of the day.
My prediction is actually more along Mike's lines. He says, "Fine, lets it tank." You know what? He doesn't even have to leave to let it tank. He could just say he's thinking about leaving, and that might be enough. You know what I mean?
That's when you start getting into the SEC stuff, though. You can't. If you're a major stockholder, you're not allowed to manipulate the stock, and you can say that and let it tank. But then when you jump in and buy more shares,
then becomes
that could be manipulation.
And that I'm sure he's thought of. Yeah,
he's done that with Bitcoin. So
I mean, he's like
Dogecoin.
He's like a
go doggy go.
Like he's just a guy that fucking when we're old and gray. Well, okay, when we're older and grayer, he will be
deep, man.
To look back and go, "We were there." I really feel like he's got good. Again, he's a businessman, so yeah, there's some shady shit. I don't think anybody gets to this level in the world without stepping on a few heads, but I think he's probably stepped on less.
It's our target audience, the old and the gray, basically the Gandalfs of the world.
Except that Elon is 50 and he's not old.
Is he 50? Did we have our? Did we get our people to figure out how old he is?
I did. I went. I asked Rogan's guys.
He's 50.
Yeah.
He's 50.
Only 50. Wow.
I know he's older than you.
No, we're 50. Wait. Okay.
We're 50.
All right.
He's our target audience.
Wow, he's right in here.
No wonder
man,
he
we got to
so
totally get him on.
I think we can get him on. Just based on
you're a lot younger than he is, Mike. Yeah.
I don't know if he's 50. He'd have to. Yeah, I don't know.
As you like to say.
Days older.
Yeah, I may be a lot younger.
All
in cat
right,
years.
guys. Well, I think we've been on long enough.
He probably dyes his hair.
Of course he does.
He's got some
Come
nano.
on, let's get
No,
real.
it's actually,
He's got
it's
nano
actually
hair or
little
something.
nanobites with little spray paint, and they're just constantly coloring it for him
Yeah.
because he doesn't want to get it on his scalp and color his scalp. He's brilliant. Remember that.
But I would say it's safe to say we're not fanboys of him. But
Oh, I am.
I'd have a beer with him.
I'd have a beer with him. If he, you know what? If he looked like Henry Cavill, I'd fucking marry him.
And that is our show.
That's our show.
Thank you for joining us.
I think we've been on long enough.
Yes.
It's about time we wrap things up.
Let's wrap it up.
All right.
See you later, everybody.
And look for us next week.